Hello, everyone. I hope that you guys are all great today. I am super excited. I think that I have technology all linked up. So it says to me that we are streaming live in the vault, um, and it's recording, and there's the webinar. So hopefully everybody is getting all the things that they need so that they can see this. So I wonder, is there like a chat option that I can ask? Okay, I see two participants. Who's the attendee? Okay, Kay's on here. So Kay, I hope that you can hear me. If you can't, message me somewhere. Maybe in Facebook, Elsie, if you can't, or raise your hand, ask a question, that kind of thing. If you can hear me, we're all good. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys because I want to talk to you all about magical money. Let's see. Okay, here we go. All right. So we're going to talk about how you can become a money rock star. And with me, yay! I think that's pretty awesome. So yeah, I want to talk to you about how I believe that being broke, being in lack and scarcity is all in the mind. So we think it's about other things, right? We think it's about our spending habits. We think it's about not having enough, all that stuff. It's actually all in your mind. And so I'm really excited to share my personal blueprint. And the blueprint that I can see is very common with all of the new wave of conscious entrepreneurs that are rising up now. So we're going to talk about how you can build your business and how you can build the life you crave while having more money, releasing debt, and building security in your life. This isn't just about business. This is foundational work in everyone's life. So don't think that this is all business, nothing to do with anything else. Because really, if you are in business, if you are an entrepreneur, your business is your life, and they are overlapping. And the best thing you can do for your business is personal work. So if you are here and you're listening to this, if you are identifying with any of these things, feeling out of control, struggling with mounting debt, watching money come in and then it goes out super fast. You're feeling panicky and anxiety, stressed about cash and its movements or lack of. Another one, a really big one, you're watching others who seem to have it all and you wonder just how they do it. If you've been unable to pay your bills or meet your financial obligations in the past couple of months or longer, and maybe you feel frustrated or desperate. When we think we're doing all the things and it's still not working, it can become really frustrating. So if this is you, if this is how you're feeling, if these are the things that are happening in your life, then you're in the right place because we are going to resolve that right here and now. So I wanted to start out by introducing myself. I am Michelle Cooper. I am the author of Confessions of a Money Rockstar, which is my book right here, and Your Money Date, which is here. So these are my two books that I spent a couple of years doing research on and brought to life last year and launched a self-study course off of the back of the book to help people who wanted to go further. So I have more than 20 years experience in finance and strategic growth in business. I took my business from $4,000 a month to over $40,000 a month, while maintaining an average 70% profit margin. Because it's no good to have a $500,000 business that you earn $10 out of. Like, that's just real life, right? That's stupid. So I am a mentor and I consult to influencers and game changers, disruptors, people who are wanting to do things differently. And I am the founder of Alchemy Business Advising and Mentoring, which is my business where we support entrepreneurs to strategically grow their business while not working themselves to death. We provide accounting, bookkeeping, administration, consulting, CFO services, all kinds of things that kind of all focus on the numbers. So that is me. And here we are going to talk about struggling. Ooh, who feels like they're struggling? Hell yeah. Sometimes I felt like I was struggling today. It was not a pretty morning in my life. It wasn't around money. It was more around being the CEO of my business, but it's one and the same, right? Most entrepreneurs are struggling. I thought that this was a really good stat. 27% of businesses surveyed claimed that they didn't have the money to support their business and it was preventing them from growing. And this is especially focused on women and minority-owned businesses. So that sucks, and we need to change that. It has left them unable to finance sales and force them to lay off employees or close their business. 27%, that's a lot, right? So if we talk about, outside of business, 1 in 50 households carry more than $20,000 in credit card debt. That's not great, right? We need to get out of that. And the average credit card debt is $5,100. That's the average. I see people with a lot more than that, to be really honest with you. So yeah, there's that. Then there's a few more stats for you guys. According to Forbes, we all know Forbes, the magazine, 90% of businesses will fail. So that means only 10% of businesses are going to succeed long term. And a whopping 29% run out of cash. And that is the crunch, right? That's the difference. And 10%, no, sorry, of the 10% that survive, only 3% are generating more than 100K in profit. And we need to change that because we have big things to do in the world. Everybody who follows me is a mission-driven, vision-holding entrepreneur. And they are out there to make a change, to make a shift, to have an impact in our world. And so it's important, like so important for you to be able to do that. And I heard something very recently. It was a quote. My God, I can't remember who said it. Somebody famous though. And he said, it takes a lot of money to make Gandhi look that poor. And that kind of stuck in my head because a lot of times we feel like if we are mission driven, if we are vision holding entrepreneurs or just operating in the world like that, we can't have money because we're not in it for the money, right? So maybe you have like a thing that you volunteer at, right? Like, and I had a conversation just last night with a client who's like, and he's a client because like he has a job and everything. And we're just talking about personal money with him, but he does this thing on the side, which is, about equality and stuff like that. And he said, but I'm not in it for the money. And I was like, yeah, I get you're not in it for the money, but it doesn't mean that you can't receive money so that you can do this work. because it costs money for you to go to these places and speak to people. It costs money for you to drive to the next state and talk about this. So even if it's not your business, if it's important to you, then you need to receive money in some way in your life. So all of this struggling, suffering, crappiness leads to, we all know this is not new to you because you might be in it. The biggest one, relationship problems, right? It leads to breakup of marriages, of relationships. It leads to family stress and disorders, anxiety, overwhelm that leads to paralysis, isolation and secrecy, and it makes you feel desperate, right? And when you feel desperate, when you feel this frustration, desperation, stress, anxiety, you're living in that, you have a hard time being present with your kids, with your life, with your friends, because that thing is running in your head over and over and over again. And so your relationships suffer. And if there's anything I've learned from elderly people, it's that all the things in the world mean nothing. Relationships matter. Drop the mic on that one, right? Relationships matter. And if money is causing you to have issues with relationships, whether that's a romantic relationship, a family relationship, a friendship, whatever, if that is what's happening, your life is going to suffer even more. And that's not living abundantly. That's not living the life you want. That is not the life that you dreamed of when you were like 10 years old and you were running around in the summer and had no worries and everything was awesome. You didn't think about, oh yeah, well, my marriage is going to fall apart because we have this like $20,000 credit card bill that we keep arguing about. Don't do that, right? We want to move out of that. And it's possible. So what is the difference between healthy and struggling? Does this guy look like he's struggling? I don't quite think he does. He kind of looks like he's like pretty chill, to be honest. The difference is there are 4 money mistakes. There are 4 common mistakes that people make around money. And I am over the moon excited to share those with you. That is why I'm here. That is why I do this work. So what are they? Let's talk about them. There's an easy way to grow your money, and there's a hard way. And most people unconsciously choose the hard way. It's as simple as that. We get told over and over again that it's not easy to make money, right? Money doesn't grow on trees. That's a great example of that. Maybe it does. I don't know. I was listening to a podcast today and he was talking about avocados and how he sold, as a teenager, he sold avocados and he sold like a bunch of different fruit, but avocados made a lot of money. So he was like, I'm going to focus on avocados. Well, that was money and actually grew on trees. So that's not true. Money does grow on trees. Number 2, people make the mistake of getting stuck in the feast or famine cycle. So this is the cycle of a lot of money, no money, a lot of money, no money, a lot of money, no money. It's the cycle of debt, no debt, debt, no debt, debt, no debt. Do you find yourself with a credit card that you pay off and then it gets loaded up again? Then you pay it off and it gets loaded up again. We want to create predictable, consistent money in your life. Not moving from feast or famine. This is like living paycheck to paycheck, right? Really good example. Number 3, they ignore their money. They pretend that this whole thing is not happening. It is not happening. I am not doing this. I don't know what you're talking about. They don't look at their bank account balances or credit card balances. They are not interacting with their money. It's a non issue, not interested. And finally, number 4 is non action rather than inspired action. Now, this I call the myth of manifestation. Now, I totally believe in manifestation of money. However, I will tell you that just because you sit there and think about it doesn't mean that it is going to show up on your doorstep. Inspired action works with the laws of divine timing and attraction. And when you can take inspired action and you're working with the laws of attraction and divine timing and divine compensation, if you can combine all of those, you're going to have a whole bunch of money in your life. But non-action is a mistake. We can't just magically manifest by sitting here and willing it to be. It's only so far that will get you. So I'm going to ask you, what do all these money mistakes have in common? They are disempowered. They are unconscious. They are sitting in fear, lack, and scarcity. And the biggest one is that there's a story. There's an underlying story that is going on inside their head, like an unconscious 8-track tape. And that is the biggest saboteur of all. So there's one thing. There's one thing that wealthy entrepreneurs have figured out, one thing that wealthy people do that others don't. And that one thing is that they have figured out how to consciously create money and build their profitable business or build their profitable life without killing themselves in the process. Because killing yourself in the process means you are miserable, means you are low vibration, low frequency, you're panicked, you're reactive, you are blind. Usually you're operating blindly, you're being irresponsible, and you are not integrating yourself into this process. So the one thing is they have figured out how to consciously create money. So how do you do that? Well, I'm going to tell you. Once you do that, once you tap into what I call your money magic, you have all the money that you are wanting, needing, having. Like it's there for you. You're paying your bills. You feel calm, confident, and in control. I had a fantastic call just before this with someone that I have been working with for about a year, and she just paid off a credit card completely. Credit card debt gone. And oh my God, did we celebrate. So you'll have a positive cash flow and you will have money in the bank, and you'll be able to make those investments in yourself and your business that take you to new levels of awesome, new levels of satisfaction, of abundance, of being in the flow of your life. And who doesn't want to feel confident and in control of their money? Me, please. Hands up. So what can you do to create all this money? Oh my God, I want one of these guns where I'm like, bam, I need that. That would be awesome. Money magic tip, trick. I don't like the words tip and trick, but number one, what can you do? We start by uncovering the stories. We start by uncovering the generational stories. So this is the part where you need to write shit down. Like you got to write this stuff down, okay? because this is the gold in this whole workshop. By uncovering the generational stories, these are the stories that you unknowingly may have inherited or carried forward. By uncovering them, we release the shame attached to them. So, what are these stories? Where do they come from? They are the things you have heard your mom and dad say, your grandparents say, your aunts and uncles say. They are the things you've seen in your own family. They are the way you have been given money when you were a child, right? So a great example is like, I said it earlier, oh, well, money doesn't grow on trees. That implies that it's not easy to have money, right? Or, you got to work hard to have money. Or it might be that you saw that your dad controlled all the money and your mom was just kind of given a household allowance. And so you are like, well, obviously women aren't good with money. Or it might be the other way around. It might be that your mom controlled the money. Your dad made it and he contributed, but he didn't have any say over where it got spent. You might have witnessed your parents arguing about money. And in the reverse, you may have never ever seen money or heard it talked about. It was a mystery. It might have been awesome. I doubt you're here because your story is like the most fantastically awesome story ever, but maybe it was, right? Maybe, money, there was lots of money. It was never an issue, right? What's the story? And so we uncover what the story is. We expose it for what it is, because more often than not, there is shame attached to the story. And shame is the biggest thing that holds us back from money. It is like the wet blanket that gets thrown over everything and just destroys it. We also can uncover the stories about your financial interactions, right? So these are your early stories around money. They may be childhood stories like, I have a client who has a great one where her mom would take her piggy bank. So she'd fill up her piggy bank and then she'd come home from school one day and it would be gone. And it was used to pay for groceries. And so she witnessed and learned that if I save and do these things and work for money, somebody's going to come along and just take it one day. And it could be, as we kind of grow up and we leave high school and we move into university or working life or whatever, and we're offered credit cards. We've never had experience with them before, and we get into debt. We take on a whole bunch of shame around that, right? So we uncover our personal history around money, our personal stories that we've created, and we take ownership for them. We say, this was my story. I own it. I did it. I'm going to accept responsibility. And we center into, we ground into our self-responsibility and power around that, and we release the shame. And it becomes magic. So let's remember that you're not alone. You're not alone in these unconscious stories. We all have them. Every single person, you might not have the same one as everyone else, but everybody has the unconscious story that is an underlying feed in their brain. And they may be awesome, they may not be awesome. What's the one thing we can shift? The unconscious story. If it's great, we can make it better. If it's not great, we can make it better. And what is at the root of many of these stories? As I said, the common lowest denominator is shame. And when we shift shame, we shift our money. So write this down, uncovering your story. Write down the things your mom said, the things your dad said, the things your grandparents said, the things you saw or didn't see, the way money was treated in your childhood, the fact that, somebody said to you, money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. We aren't those kind of people. Oh, artists, they don't make any money. Suffering artist syndrome. All of those things. Write all of that down and journal. Journal, 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 journal. Journal that shit out. Okay? When you've done that, magic starts to happen. So I'll share with you a little story about Tara. Tara is a client of mine. She was caught up in a story. She had this overwhelming story that she wasn't good at money and hated numbers. Once we figured out that story, once we uncovered it and we really went deep on it, things started to shift. So I am so incredibly proud of Tara for moving from 1 to 2K months when I first met her to the past 3 months, she's done 10K. Hell yeah, hell yeah. It's freaking awesome. So what is number 2? Money magic number 2, forgiveness. I practiced this myself today on a call, and I really encourage you to lean into this. By forgiving ourselves for unknowingly carrying forward these stories, we release shame. And by forgiving the people in our lives that gave us these stories or that enabled us to make these poor decisions, we release shame. And releasing shame is the magic pill. If there's one magic pill to this, it's releasing shame. And the only thing that holds you back is you don't know how. So we move into forgiveness. We release shame. How do we forgive? I personally practice Ho'oponopono. You can write a letter to yourself, to your parents, to whoever. You can do forgiveness meditations. There's amazing forgiveness meditations on apps and YouTube and all sorts of stuff. I have free ones that I give out all the time. You can have a conversation with someone, but you don't have to. You can have a conversation with yourself in the mirror. I did that for a lot of years, a lot of months, about a year. I was having a conversation with myself about forgiving myself. It was really hard. Sometimes the biggest obstacle is forgiving ourselves. And you can create a forgiveness ritual, right? Which could include crystals and stones and essential oils and feathers and all the things you want to create, right? Build it into a ritual. But remember that forgiveness is about you, and it's not about the person that you need to forgive. So if your dad did something super awful about the money, like that client who had the piggy bank, right? Like she was actually really kind of pissed off at her mom, to be honest, when we got real about it. And it's like, yeah, sure, you can forgive your mom. Sure. But you also need to forgive yourself because you are carrying this around. You're carrying it forward. You're hanging on to it, and you need to forgive yourself. So it's not always about forgiving that person. The forgiveness exercise is about you. It releases you. So I mentioned the Ho'oponopono, and I really want you to see that it's as easy as, oh my God, I'm totally distracted by the typo in this slide, but it's really as easy as, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. That's it. 4 sentences. You can say this, you can journal it, you can, there's so many things you can do on this. Write a letter and burn it. That's my favorite. So I want to share with you Cindy's story. Cindy, I met a couple of years ago, and she was she had so much anxiety about money that it was like within seconds of talking about money, she was in tears. Like so caught up in um, emotions or the emotions and the beating herself up. And she could not see any other relationship with money besides anxiety. And she found herself in a cycle, a destructive cycle. And we worked on uncovering the story, um, releasing the shame. We did a lot of work. So part of Cindy's story was that she would borrow money to make investments in herself. But recently in February, she wanted to go on a retreat and she paid for it all by herself and was so incredibly proud. It was so awesome to see her face and how proud she was that she was able to make this investment in her life. And she now helps. She is one of my community managers in Money Rockstars, and she also is one of the community managers in Your Money Date, which is a kind of subgroup off of Money Rockstars. So she lives and breathes this work because she has seen it transform her life. And yeah, if you get a chance to talk to her, you should talk to her because she has an amazing story. So, number 3, make a new decision. And a lot of people say to me, it's not as easy as that. Fuck yeah, it is. Okay, it really is that easy. You decide. You get to decide what you do, see, feel, have. You decide. If you don't like something that exists in your life right now, make a new decision about it. If you don't like a feeling that you're having, make a new decision about it. Sure, you're going to have to take inspired action and all that stuff, but make a new decision. It starts with a new decision. You are the thinker of your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. So if you're choosing to think in fear, it doesn't mean that you're afraid. It means that you're having fear-based thoughts. That is it. So once we identify the stories and release them, we can make a new decision about money, how it comes into our lives, how it exits our lives, and how we interact with it, how we create a relationship with it. We get to do that. We are now empowered. We are now responsible. We are now owning our shit, and we are deciding that that old way is not our way anymore. There's a new conscious way to develop your abundant relationship with money, to develop your higher bank balance. There's a new way. It's just a new decision. So here's a great example of how you can make a new decision, right? You could have a belief that money comes from hard work. And the new decision is money flows to me easily. Well, that's an affirmation, right? A lot of you probably know about affirmations, and we can repeat a gazillion affirmations every hour if we want. Where is the evidence for that affirmation? So evidence can come from your own life. It can come from seeing it in other people's lives. It can just come from nature, right? So I just put an example here. I won $5 in a scratch win. Well, that's pretty easy, right? It's not a ton of money. It's $5. Probably cost you $2 for the ticket, but it was easy. It was fun, right? I'm not good enough. No, there's not enough money to go around. There is actually a ton of money. There's a stat out there that says there's enough money in circulation in the world for every single person to have $1 million. So of course there is. And what's the evidence? Well, when my dad had a windfall, he gave me some money. He had more than enough. He was like, here, you have some. I don't need it. Right? It's all good. My dad did that. He used to get a pension from England for being in the Navy, and he would cash it in and get sterling, and he kept it in a drawer in his bedroom. And when I bought a one-way ticket to London, and I said, I'm going to go to London and see what happens, he was like, oh, here's a bunch of money. I was like, oh, no, I don't need that money. I got some money. He's like, I don't need it. It's just money I'm getting. And I don't know. I don't need it. So here you go. It's extra to me. So that's evidence. That was in 1996. So, it was a while ago, but it's still evidence in my own life, right? Remember those things. So take your old belief. Often the new decision is completely switching it on its head, and then find some evidence. And the evidence can be, as I said, something very simple in your life, something you've witnessed in other people's lives. Maybe it's just in nature, right? The acorn doesn't try really hard to become the oak tree. It's nature. It's universal law. So just remember that. So write this stuff out. Write it out in a journal. Like, you might have like 10 pages of these things. It's getting it out. It's taking it from your head and moving it out onto a piece of paper that maybe you want to rip up or burn or whatever, or maybe you want to keep. So here is one of my all-star Jens, all-stars, Jen. Jen's story. Wow, what an amazing story. Jen was stuck, and there is really no other way to describe where she was a year ago. She was getting conflicting advice from a variety of people, and she was completely overwhelmed in anxiety and was paralyzed and couldn't do anything. So by working with Jen, I was able to help her, to support her making a new empowered decision and taking inspired action. And she is a rock star now, truly a rock star. So here's where we talk about, like, what is this worth to you, right? What is the drain on your life by having these suffering, struggling moments and thoughts around money? So I'm all about the numbers. That's my jam. And so I always want to quantify something. I'm always looking for the ROI or the quantitative value on something. So I sat there and thought about, okay, for myself, and this is me, right? How much time do I spend in stress, anxiety, and overwhelm around money? And at the time, this is about 3 years ago, it was like 2 to 4 hours a day where I would be like, oh no, oh my God, what am I going to do? All this kind of stuff, right? That is time that I am not consciously creating wealth. I am lowering my vibration. I am lowering my frequency, and I am not consciously creating my wealth. And so at that time, on average, I was charging out my time at $150 an hour. So if I looked at, 2 hours a day, sometimes it was more than that. That's a minimum of like $110,000. This was costing me in productive time where I could have been working on my business, billing out time to clients, or calling in other clients. So there was a real substantial dollar amount that went into all of that suffering. But the real cost, when I looked at it, came back to the relationships. The real cost came back to my family life, constantly feeling like I was on a hamster wheel. I've got to keep working. I can't take time off. I wasn't seeing my kids. I wasn't communicating well with my husband. I was stressy and snappy with friends. Clients didn't get the best of me. It all was like this downward cycle, right? And it wasn't good. and it didn't lead anywhere that was remotely good. And so I found, and I really strongly believe these things, and that's why I've like capitalized the word wrong. So some people believe that they need to work harder, longer, and faster to have more money. Wrong. Wrong. Not true. Some people believe that they can magically manifest money into existence by the law of attraction. Wrong. Not going to happen all on its own. And that's a controversial statement to make. And some people feel that money is just not their thing, or they're just not meant to be wealthy. Wrong. Not true at all. Everyone can have money. It is not for those people over there. And what I believe and have found is that it all sits in the power of your brain. It is all about releasing shame and reprogramming your brain for a wealthy life. The most wealthiest people do not waste time in limiting beliefs and unconscious practices. They do not waste time in old stories. They consciously create their money. And you have the ability to make a new decision at any time to do this. And you can develop a ritual or practice to reinforce that decision. So it's all there. And it's all here. Your brain is the biggest goal-achieving machine that there is. And it will achieve the goals that you put in there. You just have to pick the right ones. So the bottom line is that by uncovering these stories, we can move into forgiveness. We can release them and move into forgiveness. And by forgiving ourselves and others, we can make a new decision about money and how we want to manifest and manage it. And by making a new decision, we are consciously creating a relationship with money. It's a conscious relationship with money. And we get what we want and need, leaving space for us to thrive. To thrive and enjoy life. So you do have an opportunity. Everybody has an opportunity to change your bank balance. And it's as simple as that. You don't need anything else. So what I would ask you is if you're okay being in this exact position that you're in today, 2 months from now, or 6 months from now, or a year from now. Because it's not about the money. It's like, when you want to lose weight, it's not about the food and the exercise. There's other things going on. And so are you going to be okay to be in this position or worse 2, 6, 12 months from now? And if the answer is no, and oh my God, I hope it is, because nobody should be sitting in that, you can make a choice. You can make a choice to change your life. You can make a new decision to change your relationship with your money and create an abundant money blueprint, which is basically your plan. You can make a new decision to have more money in your bank and take inspired action instead of reactive moves to cultivate your wealth. And you can make a new decision to shift your life and your business. Who doesn't want to do that? Oh my God. Or you can remain where you are. And you can keep trying to figure it out. And you might get into deeper debt. And you might get into worse stories. But it's just a choice that you need to make. And I'm not saying you can't figure it out on your own. Maybe you can. But if you want to shift that faster, Smart people learn from others, and they use the tools and experiences that others have been through for their own benefit. Why not do that? So if you want to shift your wealth, I am going to invite you into Money Rockstars. Money Rockstars is an amazing community and a 7-week course, which you can do over and over and over again because you have lifetime access. And in 7 weeks, you can shift your story and you can start to shift your bank balance. And if you're really dedicated to this work, it does not take long to get this done. So what do you do to join Money Rockstars? If that's what you want to do, you just say, I want to join. You just click on this link and you say, I want to join. It's a 7-week self-study course, and it's a lot of fun. Sometimes the stories are really emotional. More often than not, they are. But we really go deep in uncovering those stories, moving through forgiveness, creating new money rituals, and creating and cultivating a new relationship with your money. I walk you through the money date process, which gives you a ritual weekly of interacting with your money. I am giving you all meditations to cultivate your alignment of chakras around money and to really lean into the abundant mindset. There's forgiveness ritual and there's forgiveness meditations. We talk about essential oils to help you along the way in your journey, and crystal grids and all those things. And it's $777. It's as simple as that. You will get to be part of a active and motivated group of Money Rockstars, and you're all working together towards similar goals and rising up. And that can be one of the biggest motivations that there is. And of course, you have me. So if this is something you're interested in, I would love to have you in there. I really encourage you to go over to michellebcooper.com/MRC. And that is where you can join Money Rockstars. You have lifetime access to it. The course starts live June 3rd, and we will be going through it together live. There will be people who've already done it that might want to jump in on the next round and do it again. This is work that is like layers of an onion. And we peel back these layers and we uncover new levels of story and new levels of abundance, all at the same time. And it is so much fun because when you see these things, you can't unsee them. Once you see the story and the pattern that comes out, you can't unsee it. And then it's like, oh, there it is again. Oh, there you are again. There's that story popping up again. It might have some tears attached to it at the beginning. Eventually it won't. Eventually you'll have done enough forgiveness and release that it won't trigger you anymore. It might trigger you in the opposite way because you're like, yeah, there's that story again. Remember, I ditched that story. I made a new decision. And by making a new decision, you change your life. So I want to encourage you to do that. I want to encourage you to make a new decision about how you're going to create a different life with money. And you can do that by joining our community, joining our educational series. There's so much in there, and it just keeps building. New things are added all the time when I work from inspired action. And so often I'm like, I'm just going to throw some more stuff in here. Here's some more things. Hey, why don't you try this? I just did this and it was awesome. I recently just put in a recipe for an oil blend. And I'm like, put this in a little bottle, spray bottle with some distilled water and spray it, spritz it all over you, spray it around your house. Right? Because that's good stuff. So I hope to see you there. It's very exciting. I love this work. It is my passion. I do this because I want you to be able to show up and make an impact in your life and in our world, because our world could use a little change. And I really want to encourage you all to be the change you want to see. And you can't do that if you don't have the money to back it up. So if you have questions, you can ask them in the vault. If you have questions, you can message me, you can email me. It's hello@michellebcooper.com. If you want to have a little chat about this and what it looks like, I'm happy to do that. I am so incredibly grateful for you if you're watching this, either live or recorded. I have so much gratitude for this work. This is a gift from the universe to me and from me to the world. Hope to see you there. See you later.